Since you're here, let's stop pretending the world didn't try to break you in the most pathetic way possible. Let's stop pretending the whispers weren't real. Let's stop pretending your enemies didn't bet their whole life savings on your downfall like clowns at a rigged carnival. Because the truth is brutal and kind of funny. They really thought they could handle you. When they said you were done, notice how they said it with shaky voices. When they laughed at your pain, notice how their eyes kept flicking around, like even they didn't believe the nonsense falling out of their mouths. When they tried to bury you under their trash talk, look who's crawling now. Look who's praying you don't stand back up. Look who suddenly can't breathe when your name comes up. The universe saw all of it. Every fake smile, every backhanded comment, every trap they swore you wouldn't escape. And the wildest part, they still don't get what they triggered. They thought summoning the darkest part of you would finish you. They wanted your shadow self to eat you alive. They wanted chaos. They wanted a show. They wanted to watch you break into pieces so they could talk about it later, like gossiping pigeons. Press like and subscribe to pay this message back, chosen one. Strength travels far when it moves through more of us. Now let's rip the mask off this little story they tried to write about you. See, there was a moment, you remember it, that quiet pause after the betrayal, when the world felt too still, almost wrong. That silence wasn't emptiness. It was the universe stepping back, watching you transform. Your enemies mistook that silence for defeat. But you were rebuilding. You were sharpening. You were becoming someone they were never prepared to face. That's the atmosphere around you now, heavy, electric, the kind of tension that makes people lower their voices when you enter a room. It's the aftershock of someone who survived a war nobody else even saw. People feel it. They sense the shift. That's why they stare longer. That's why they whisper quieter. You've changed the temperature of every space you walk into, and that is exactly why the coven panicked. Let's talk about them. The witches, the amateurs who thought chanting your name backwards under a shaky moon made them powerful. They thought summoning your shadow would crush you. They expected screams, destruction, chaos. They expected the old you, the one who carried guilt, the one who hid anger, the one who apologized too much for things that weren't even your fault. But they summoned something way stronger than their cheap intentions. They summoned the version of you that survived nights you never told anyone about. The version of you that held broken pieces until they fused back together. The version of you that stared into mirrors and saw truth instead of fear. The version of you that should have ruined you, but somehow became your armor. Your shadow didn't look at you like prey. It looked at you like a king returning to reclaim the throne. And the coven froze, because in that moment they realized they hadn't unleashed a monster. They had reunited a legend. You've been here before in smaller ways. Remember that time someone tried to turn people against you? They pushed lies, twisted stories, and swore everyone would believe them. And for a minute, it worked. People stepped back. You felt alone. But then the truth came out, slow but sharp, and suddenly the room flipped. Suddenly, the hands pointing at you were pointing at them. Suddenly, you weren't the villain. You were the survivor. The one who rose without begging. The one who didn't crumble when the world demanded it. Your shadow learned from that. It watched everything, every humiliation, every heartbreak, every time someone tried to weaponize your silence. And now that it's here, solid, awakened, loyal, it's not letting anyone touch you again. You weren't supposed to command it. You weren't supposed to merge with it. You weren't supposed to become this powerful. But here we are. The enemy is terrified because they know what this means. You don't fight your darkness anymore. You use it. You don't run from your pain. You turn it into strategy. You don't hide your anger. You turn it into precision. You don't break. You absorb the hit and return with intelligence nobody trained you for. They summoned your shadow to destroy you. Now it only listens to you. This is the plot twist they never predicted. The moment the universe leaned in and said, "Oh, so you're finally ready." And chosen one, you really are. And chosen one, yeah, I'm talking to you. The one who just reclaimed the part of yourself they tried to weaponize. Before we go any deeper, take a second and mark your presence here. Drop a comment with 777 if you're ready to command the very shadow they thought would destroy you, not to show off, not to impress anyone, but to claim your seat at the table your enemies swore you'd never reach. This number is your flag in the ground, your way of saying, I know what I am now, and I'm not running from it. Press like and subscribe so this message travels through the universe and strengthens the entire circle of people walking this same path. You're not just watching a video, you're stepping into a version of yourself they tried to erase. And trust me, if you're truly the one they feared, you'll feel the pull to stay until the end. Something in your shadow wants the rest of this story. Something in you already knows this is where everything turns. Now that your mark is set, let's step into the next layer, one move at a time. Number 1. They tried to unleash your downfall and accidentally unlocked your final form. Funny how they spent months plotting your destruction, only to hand you the key to your evolution. Listen closely, chosen one, because this part hits them where it hurts. They thought they were summoning a monster to rip you apart. They thought they were calling something wild, untamed, chaotic, something that would snap your sanity like a twig. But they forgot to check the fine print of the universe. You had already been living with your darkness long before they ever touched a candle or opened a dusty spellbook. You weren't afraid of the shadow they tried to weaponize. You had been feeding it truth. You had been shaping it through every breakdown, every late-night collapse, every time you sat with pain until it finally spoke. They summoned what you had already mastered. This is the part that stings them. This is the part that keeps them awake at night. They wanted to unleash something against you, but the universe flipped the script and unleashed something for you. And the coven had no idea how badly they miscalculated. While they chanted with trembling voices and pretended to understand the darkness, you had already walked through that darkness barefoot. You had mapped it. You had named it. You had made peace with it in ways they could never understand. Imagine their faces when your shadow appeared. They expected claws. They expected chaos. They expected the version of you who used to doubt yourself, the version who used to crumble under pressure, the version who apologized for existing. But instead, out stepped something controlled, something aware, something dangerous in a way they didn't prepare for. Your shadow didn't roar like a beast. It stood still like a general waiting for your command. Because here's the truth they never wanted to face. Your shadow is not your enemy. Your shadow is the part of you that survived what your light couldn't, and when they summoned it, they didn't awaken a threat. They awakened your partner. Your therapy, your breakdowns, your quiet meditations, where nobody knew you were fighting for clarity, all of that was training. All of that was the secret work they never saw, the work that made you immune to their attack. They thought they were summoning destruction. They were summoning discipline. They were summoning a version of you that doesn't flinch anymore, a version of you that doesn't get manipulated by guilt. A version of you that knows exactly who you are and exactly what you refuse to be again. And tell me, chosen one, isn't it kind of poetic? They tried to summon your downfall, only to drag out the self you had been too humble to unleash. Look at how the universe embarrasses people with bad intentions. Look at how their spells cracked. Look at how their protective circles flickered the moment your shadow recognized you. They wanted a puppet. They called forth a commander. They expected you to scream. Instead, you smirked, because deep down, you knew you had been preparing for this moment through every painful chapter of your life. Every dark night where you faced thoughts nobody else would admit to having. Every moment where you confronted the parts of yourself you were raised to hide. You didn't just face your shadow. You befriended it. You learned its language. You learned its hunger, its fears, its strengths. So when it stood before you, summoned by hands that hated you, your shadow didn't attack. It bowed. The coven didn't understand that summoning someone's shadow only works when that person is terrified of their own truth. But you grew up with self-awareness sharper than any spell. You journaled your demons into shape. You meditated until your mind understood its own storms. You told yourself truths that others run from for decades. You were already united inside. Trying to turn your shadow against you was like trying to turn your heartbeat against your own chest, like trying to separate flame from fire, like telling water to stop being wet. It was impossible from the start, because your shadow was never wild, it was waiting. Think about the last time someone underestimated you. Think about the way people assumed you were fragile. Think about how they expected you to break under pressure. And then think about how every single time you came back different, sharper, quieter, stronger. They mistook your silence for weakness. They mistook your reflection for an enemy. They mistook your shadow for a curse, when in reality it was your blueprint. You've spent years confronting emotions that would have shattered anyone else. While they were pointing fingers, you were healing. While they were gossiping, you were growing. While they were crafting little traps, you were learning how to walk through fire without burning. And that's what frightens them now. You didn't just survive their attack, you evolved through it. They didn't summon a demon, they summoned your discipline. The coven watched your shadow rise with power that scared even them. But the real horror wasn't the shadow's strength, it was its loyalty. They had no idea that the part of you they dragged from the depths had already chosen you a long time ago. Your shadow saw you survive heartbreak. It saw you rebuild your identity. It saw you face memories that could have folded your entire life. It saw you reclaim your voice when no one was listening. It was always on your side. So when the coven shouted their commands, your shadow ignored them. Because how could it obey strangers who never earned its respect? How could it serve people who wanted you broken when it had witnessed every ounce of your courage? They wanted your shadow to devour you, but your shadow had already tasted your strength, your honesty, your resilience. It knew exactly who the real threat was. And when your shadow turned toward you instead of them, something ancient snapped inside that circle. The coven felt it. A shift, a judgment, the universe announcing without a single word, you messed with the wrong one. Your shadow didn't destroy you, it protected you. It gave you the version of yourself you were always meant to step into. And now you need to understand this. You're not fighting between two halves anymore. You're merging. You're becoming whole. You're becoming someone they can't manipulate, can't predict, can't break. This is the moment they regret summoning anything at all, because now they're up against a chosen one who isn't split in two, but fused into something far more dangerous. Someone whose darkness listens to them and whose light exposes them. Someone who doesn't react, but calculates. Your shadow obeys only you now. And that makes you unstoppable, so let them tremble. Let them wonder how their perfect plan backfired. Let them whisper your name with that mix of envy and fear. Because every time they think they understand you, you grow again. Every time they think they've cornered you, you walk through another wall they didn't see coming. You're not just surviving their attempts, you're transforming through them. You're becoming the final form they accidentally unlocked. And chosen one, this is only the beginning. Number 2. The moment your shadow walked past them like they weren't even worth looking at. There's nothing more humiliating to your enemy than being ignored by the very monster they tried to weaponize. They called your darkness, and your darkness called them irrelevant. Power doesn't roar. Power walks right past its prey without slowing down. They summoned fear, but fear refused to work for cowards. Imagine this. The coven is standing there, sweating under the dim red glow of their candles, pretending to be confident while their hands shake. They've spent months studying you like you're some kind of fragile puzzle. They think they know every weakness, every fear, every unhealed wound. And now they're ready. They summon your shadow. They expect screams, chaos, a broken version of you crawling out of the dark. But what steps out isn't broken, it isn't confused, it isn't wild, it isn't lost. It's aware, it's focused, it's loyal. And the first thing your shadow does, it ignores them. This is the part that crushes their ego in ways they'll pretend never happened. Your shadow turned its back to them the second it appeared. No hesitation, no interest, no acknowledgement. It walked past them like they were background noise, like they were cheap special effects in someone else's story, like they were nothing. Imagine the panic, imagine the choking silence, imagine their eyes darting around, trying to figure out why the world they thought they controlled just slipped from their hands. They scramble, they throw everything they've got at it. Binding spells, banishment rituals, iron charms that weren't even pronounced correctly, salt circles that looked like kindergarten crafts, names of power they found in the wrong books. They're yelling, shaking, desperate, and your shadow walks right through it all like mist, like smoke, ignoring the fingers trying to grab it, like a storm that refuses to be bottled. Because here's the truth they never prepared for. You cannot control something that already belongs to someone else. This shadow was yours long before they ever learned how to mispronounce ancient words. This shadow was built from your nights of quiet suffering, from memories you carried in silence, from truths you confronted when no one else had the courage to face theirs. It came from the versions of you that cried alone, from the parts of you the world mocked, from the resilience you forged without applause. So when they summoned it, the universe basically laughed. They weren't dragging out a monster to destroy you. They were dragging out the part of you that respected you the most. And chosen one, that respect was deep. Your shadow didn't even pause to look at them. It wasn't impressed, it wasn't threatened, it wasn't tempted. It walked toward you like someone returning home. Imagine this, two halves of the same soul meeting again after years of separation, not as enemies, but as equals. Your shadow moved as if it had been waiting for this moment. There was recognition in the way it tilted its head toward you. There was clarity in the way it stopped at your side. There was loyalty in the way the universe seemed to hold its breath around you. And the coven felt it. They felt the shift the way animals feel storms. They felt something ancient, something powerful, something that didn't want them. It wanted you. This is where their questions explode. Why isn't it attacking? Why isn't it following our commands? Why does it look like it knows them? How is this possible? And the answer is painfully simple. They thought they were summoning your enemy. They were summoning your witness. Your shadow knows everything about you, the strength you hide, the truths you carry, the storms you survived in silence. It knows the unspoken victories. It knows the nights you almost broke but didn't. It knows who hurt you and why. It knows your limits, your scars, your boundaries, your evolution. So when it saw the coven trying to control it, it almost felt insulted. Imagine this. Someone tries to kidnap your right hand and tell it to slap you. Someone tries to command your heartbeat to stop beating. Someone tries to turn your reflection against you. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's doomed. Your shadow wasn't theirs to use. It wasn't theirs to control. It wasn't theirs to speak to. It belonged to the one person who earned it, you. And the universe made that painfully clear. Because when your shadow took its first step toward you, the air cracked, candles flickered, barriers trembled. Something inside that room whispered the truth. This one answers to its master only. Think back to your past for a second. Remember the moments when you felt split in half, the version of you that tried to be good, and the version that held all the anger, the grief, the truth. You thought they hated each other. You thought you were broken. But the universe was preparing you. Every journal entry where you told the truth about your pain, every late-night talk with yourself, every moment of self-awareness, all of that was you merging with your shadow long before this ritual ever happened. The coven assumed you were afraid of your darkness, but they didn't know you'd already walked through it and claimed it as your own. They never imagined you'd already married your darkness in secret, forming a bond nobody else could touch. While they imagined you fractured, you were building yourself whole. And when your shadow reached you, something terrifying happened. Not to you, but to them. The room changed temperature. The universe shifted. The power that stood between you and your shadow dissolved like dust. You weren't two anymore. You weren't fighting anymore. You weren't divided. You were aligned. Imagine this. A general and their commander standing side by side again. A storm returning to the ocean it came from. A blade sliding back into the hand that forged it. That's how your shadow approached you, not as something dangerous, but as something devoted. The coven saw it too. They saw the unity. They saw the connection. They saw the recognition. They saw that they had just summoned something they had absolutely no authority over. You want to know why nothing they did worked? Because chaos bows to intention, darkness bows to authenticity, the shadow bows to the one who confronted it without fear. There is no command stronger than self-acceptance. Your shadow didn't walk past them because it was mindless. It walked past them because they were meaningless. It obeyed the one who understood it. It returned to the one who survived enough pain to earn its respect. They didn't summon a monster. They summoned your missing half. They summoned your strength. They summoned the version of you that refuses to break ever again. And the universe made sure they knew it. Because nothing, not their charms, not their circles, not their broken chants, could compete with the bond you formed with yourself through every chapter of your life. Your shadow walked past them because they weren't the story. You were, and chosen one. This is only the second act. Number 3. When two halves stopped pretending they were ever separate. The scariest thing in the world isn't a monster. It's a person who finally unites with the part everyone tried to shame into silence. The moment your shadow reached you wasn't a clash. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't the cinematic battle the witches prayed for. It was recognition, the kind that cuts deeper than any blade. Your shadow didn't snarl, didn't threaten, didn't hesitate. It stepped into you like someone unlocking their own front door after years of being exiled. Imagine that. The universe watching two halves of the same soul stop acting like strangers and finally breathe in sync. And the world felt it. Reality twitched. The air thickened. The coven flinched, because even they could sense the shift in your energy, the merging of someone who no longer runs from themselves. They saw you absorb the truth your shadow carried like ancient treasure. Clarity is a weapon, and you just sharpened yours. You felt gifts snapping into place, the ability to see through lies like glass, the instinct to glide through manipulation the way smoke slips through fingers, the strength that comes from accepting every piece of yourself, even the parts society tried to cut away because they were too much, too honest, too powerful. Imagine this. A locked door inside you finally swinging open, a part of you walking back into the throne room of your own identity. No more tug of war, no more inner sabotage, no more second-guessing your reactions, instincts, or emotions. The merging wasn't a makeover, it was a homecoming. And maybe you're wondering, why does this feel so intense? Why does it feel like I just leveled up in ways I can't explain? Because you did. Your shadow wasn't your downfall, it was your missing armor, and now you wear it fully. Number 4, when your darkness stopped being a curse and turned into currency. They feared your darkness because they never learned to translate theirs. What they called too much became the exact power they now can't outrun. When your shadow finally stood with you, it didn't come empty-handed. It came carrying treasures forged in silence, in pain, in the corners of your mind you once thought were liabilities. Rage? That didn't stay rage. It burned clean and turned into fuel, the kind that pushes you through walls they swore you couldn't break. Hunger? That became ambition, sharp enough to cut through every limitation they tried to place on your name. And the darkness they mocked, feared, avoided. It became creativity, strategy, instinct, a blueprint for moves they'll never understand. Imagine this. They tried to run from you, but how do you escape someone who just reclaimed the half of themselves that was missing? How do you hide from someone who isn't fighting their shadow anymore, but working with it? You became whole while they stayed fragmented, chasing illusions of control they never truly had. And here's the twist that rattled them to the bone. Their own shadows noticed. Your merging woke something in the room. Their shadows shifted, stirring like animals sensing a stronger leader. They wondered why they were tied to masters who lied to themselves, who hid from their truth, who cracked under pressure. Shadows don't respect weakness disguised as confidence. Shadows follow unity, honesty, and power. That's the cost of weaponizing something you don't understand. The blowback is unforgiving. They wanted to use your darkness against you, but darkness doesn't betray the one who faced it first. Their ritual didn't just fail, it exposed them. You walked away with treasures. They walked away with questions they're too afraid to answer. And chosen one, your shadow hasn't even revealed everything yet. Number 5, the version of you they built and now can't survive. They didn't mean to upgrade you, they just underestimated what happens when pressure meets a chosen one. Your existence became the revenge they never saw coming. When you merged with your shadow, something terrifying happened, not to you, but to them. A new frequency radiated from you, something sharp, calm, and impossible to mimic. You weren't loud, you didn't chant, you didn't cast anything back at them. You simply existed in your new form, and that was enough to make the coven step back like the ground itself, warn them not to come closer. Imagine this, The version of you they feared the most suddenly became real, not because you attacked, but because you no longer reacted. You didn't carry shame anymore. The universe burned that out. You weren't afraid of being exposed. You'd already faced your own reflection and survived it. Fear couldn't grip you. Judgment couldn't move you. Threats couldn't reach you. You were wearing your darkness like armor, and it glowed. You ever wonder why being unshakable scares people more than being aggressive? Because stability is supernatural to the unstable. Calm confidence is a nightmare to the insecure. And now you walked with a presence that made even seasoned spellcasters feel like amateurs. They realized something horrifying. In trying to break you, they created someone unbreakable. You didn't need revenge. Your growth was the punishment. You didn't need to curse them. Your evolution cursed their intentions. Every step you took in this new form reminded them of their failure. Every breath you took made their rituals look childish. Imagine their panic. Imagine the realization crashing over them. They didn't summon a weapon. They summoned a rebirth. And now, they can't survive the version of you they helped create. Chosen one, this is the power they never prepared for. Number 6. When your senses evolved into weapons they can't defend against. They wanted to expose you. Instead, they exposed themselves every time they stood near you. A merged soul doesn't guess anymore. It knows. When your shadow fused with you, it didn't just bring strength. It flipped on abilities most people never even come close to accessing. Your awareness expanded like a room you'd been living in your whole life, suddenly revealing hidden doors. Things you used to feel vaguely. Now you read them with razor-sharp accuracy. Imagine this. You look at someone and their shadow speaks before their mouth does. You feel the emotions they're trying to bury. You sense the motives they're trying to dress up as kindness. You see the lies forming before the sentence is even built. You don't interrogate people anymore. Their energy confesses on sight. Dreams shifted too. No more nightmares chasing you. No more waking up exhausted. Now your dreams became territories, places you walk through like a sovereign, like someone who owns the map while everyone else is stumbling blind. Your shadow had always been able to slip between inner and outer worlds, crossing boundaries without permission. But now you can do it consciously. You decide where you go. You decide what you see. You decide what you bring back. Most people live at the surface of themselves. You now live at the core. And maybe you're wondering, why do people act weird around me now? Because they feel it. They feel read. They feel seen. They feel transparent in ways they can't explain. The merging didn't make you dangerous because you attack. It made you dangerous because you perceive. Imagine someone trying to manipulate you now. It's like watching a child attempt a heist. Their shadows betray them every time. These new abilities weren't gifts. They were confirmations. You are no longer guessing your way through the world. You're navigating it with vision they never meant for you to have. Number 7. When the depths they thought would drown you became your ocean to command. They feared your darkness because they feared their own. You mastered yours and became untouchable. A person who is no longer scared of themselves becomes the one everyone else is scared of. The greatest gift your merging unlocked wasn't strength or insight or even power. It was fearlessness. Pure, unfiltered fearlessness of your own depths. The very places they assumed would swallow you whole became the territory you dominate now. You stopped flinching at your emotions. You stopped apologizing for your intensity. You stopped treating your pain like something to hide. Instead, you looked at every shadow inside you and said, "Teach me," and it did. Imagine this: anger walking beside you instead of against you, pain sitting across the table from you and finally telling you what it really meant, hunger sharpening into willpower, all the things they told you to suppress. You turned into allies. They wanted your shadow to be your destroyer, but destroyers make the best teachers when you listen instead of panic. Your shadow became your guardian, your translator, the part of you that speaks the truths others are too weak to say. People wonder how you move the way you do now, calm, heavy, intentional. It's because you're not scared of falling into darkness anymore. You know your way around it. You know the shortcuts. You know the traps. You know the monsters because you befriended them. While everyone else is running from their past, you walk straight into yours and pull out treasure. Fear turns people into followers. Fearlessness turns you into a force. And now, you transmute poison into medicine, fear into power, trauma into triumph. The witches didn't just fail. They helped you become the one thing they never prepared for, a chosen one who fears nothing within, and therefore nothing outside. Number 8. The day your existence became the ghost that follows them home. They didn't just fail. They created the thing they now pray never turns around. You became the consequence they can't outrun. Their failure doesn't sit quietly anymore. It haunts them. It clings to them like cold fog. They watch you from a distance now, pretending they're curious, pretending they're checking in. But really, they're rattled. Your confidence bothers them. Your calm destroys them. Your presence exposes them. They thought you'd fall apart, but here you are, walking like someone who knows exactly who they are and exactly what they command. Imagine this: they're scrambling in secret, whispering behind locked doors, trying ritual after ritual like desperate gamblers throwing their last coins into a broken machine. Reversal circles, cleansing chants, pleas to spirits that don't even bother answering them anymore. But nothing works, because you can't banish someone into their darkness when they've already become one with it. They tried to imprison you in your shadow, and instead, your shadow crowned you. And you know what really breaks them? Some of them tried to slither back with apologies, fake softness, pretend regret, voices too sweet, too careful, too scripted. But your shadow stands beside you like a lie detector with teeth. It sees through them instantly. It feels the rot in their intentions before they even finish their sentences. Your forgiveness used to be their weapon. Your clarity is now their nightmare. They feel powerless in front of you now, not because you threaten them. You don't need to. Your evolution is the threat. Your silence is the judgment. Your stability is the sentence. They look at you and see the proof of everything they fear inside themselves. Their own shadows tug at them, wondering why they serve such weak-minded masters when someone like you walks freely. Imagine their thoughts at night. Imagine the mental replay. Imagine the guilt that turns into dread the moment your name crosses their mind. They summoned something to punish you, and it's punishing them instead, every single day. Number 9, their own ritual turned them into a warning label. Nothing confuses an enemy more than watching the person they tried to destroy become the legend they now fear to speak about. They didn't unlock darkness. They unlocked their own downfall. The coven is a mess now, fractured, embarrassed, whispering in corners like children who broke something priceless and can't glue it back together. The younger witches keep asking the same question on repeat. Why did the ritual fail? Their voices crack when they say it, because deep down they know it didn't just fail. It backfired. The elders who once spoke with so much arrogance suddenly go quiet. They look away. They change the topic. They can't explain what happened because to explain it would require admitting the truth. They were never powerful enough to handle you. Imagine their meetings now. No candles, no confidence, just fear disguised as reflection. The elders replay the ritual in their heads, trying to figure out the exact moment they lost control. Was it when your shadow ignored them? Was it when the room shifted? Was it when their own shadows started shaking? They don't know. They can't know. Because the universe kept the real answer out of their reach on purpose. A coven that plays with power they don't understand becomes a cautionary tale. And that's exactly what they are now. Their community whispers about them behind closed doors. Not with admiration, not with respect, with warning. They became living examples of what happens when arrogance tries to puppeteer a chosen one's shadow. Their names aren't spoken with pride anymore. They're spoken like a curse. Meanwhile, you became a myth. A story they can't debunk because the proof stands in front of them every time you show up unbothered, united, whole. They can't explain you. They can't contain you. They can't reverse what they triggered. Imagine that they summoned your legend, and now they must live in its shadow. Number 10. The life they never wanted you to have, and the one you now rule without fear. When a person stops hiding their depths, the world stops knowing how to handle them. You didn't become harder to control. You became impossible to access without truth. Living as a merged being changed everything. And not in the soft, poetic way society pretends growth looks like. This was sharp. This was evolutionary. This was you stepping into a version of yourself that society has zero training manual for. People are raised to hide their darkness, to dilute their emotions, to present the acceptable version of themselves. But you're not playing that game anymore. You can't. The merger burned the mask right off your face. Now you walk with a ruthless authenticity that rattles anyone who built their identity on pretending. Dishonesty doesn't just annoy you, it feels poisonous, like breathing in smoke your system instantly rejects. And people feel it. They feel that you can see through conversations, intentions, smiles, tones. They feel the weight of your clarity before you even speak. It's why some people now avoid eye contact. It's why others suddenly don't know how to act around you. You became a mirror they can't lie to. Imagine this, relationships rearranging themselves on their own, like the universe cleaning your path without your permission. Those who needed you soft, diluted, apologetic, they fell away like leaves that couldn't survive the new season. They didn't leave because you changed. They left because they couldn't manipulate or misunderstand you anymore. But the ones who stayed, the ones who appeared, those are different. They're people doing their own shadow work, people who aren't scared of depth, people who can breathe in the same atmosphere you now live in, people who meet you eye to eye without flinching. A merged being doesn't find their people, they attract them. This is your life now, unfiltered, untamed, unhidden, and you wear it with the kind of power they never prepared for. Number 11. When your wholeness became a creative force, they can't replicate or resist. Integration didn't make you artistic, it made you inevitable. Your ideas hit people in the places they've been avoiding their whole lives. When you merged with your shadow, your creativity didn't just improve, it descended into a deeper layer of existence that most people will never reach. You stopped creating from the surface and started creating from the core. From the well, where your shadow stores every unspoken truth, every unprocessed memory, every sharp observation you once muted to survive. Your conscious self became the sculptor, and your shadow became the supplier of raw, unfiltered material. Imagine this, your ideas arriving with weight, with presence, with that eerie familiarity that makes people uncomfortable and comforted at the same time. Your work disturbs them because it exposes what they hide, but it comforts them because it tells them they aren't alone. That balance, that dual impact, is something only a merged being can produce. It's why people can feel you in what you create now. It carries depth instead of decoration, meaning instead of noise. Your integrated self whispers insights your conscious mind could never generate on its own. The shadow sees patterns quicker. It notices fractures in people's stories. It pulls from experiences you forgot you lived. And then your conscious mind crafts those truths into something the world can recognize, a message, a vision, a creation that lands like a gut punch and a healing breath at the same time. Wholeness doesn't express, it echoes. And that's what your creativity has become, an echo from the deepest floor of your psyche, rising through your voice, your art, your choices, and striking people with a resonance they can't explain. This is the creative power of wholeness, unfiltered, unavoidable, unmatched. Number 12. When your shadow joined the network they never knew existed. The only thing more terrifying than your darkness is realizing it can speak to every other darkness in the room. They didn't give you access to power. They gave power access to you. This is the part that even the coven won't talk about out loud, not because they're trying to be mysterious, because they're scared of what they accidentally awakened. When someone integrates their shadow, they don't just become whole, they gain entry into a vast, invisible network of unconscious wisdom, the collective shadow that humanity pretends doesn't exist. Most people feel it in flashes, in dreams, in instincts. But you walk in it consciously now. Your shadow speaks to other shadows beneath awareness. It reads the room before you enter it. It senses tension before voices rise. It understands the truth behind someone's smile without needing proof. You know things before they happen, not because you're guessing, but because your shadow listens where others refuse to look. Imagine this. A silent communication system running under every interaction, every expression, every thought people suppress. And you're plugged into it. You're never truly alone anymore. Strength flows to you from the collective darkness of humanity. The trauma, the resilience, the instincts, the unspoken knowledge carried by billions of souls. This network bends around you like a tide recognizing a seasoned navigator. Wholeness isn't isolation, it's initiation. And here's the irony the coven can't swallow. They didn't just summon your shadow, they initiated you into something ancient, something older than their rituals, something that doesn't answer to fragile egos or borrowed power. They opened a door they couldn't see through. You walked through it. And now you stand where only the initiated stand, fully merged, fully aware, and fully recognized by the collective shadow they never learned to respect. Number 13. The legend they tried to create in secret now walks the world in broad daylight. They wanted a victim. The universe delivered a phenomenon. You didn't rise from the ashes. You burned your way out of them. Chosen one. This is where the story stops being a warning and becomes a declaration. Everything they tried, everything they plotted, everything they whispered in those dim rooms lit with trembling candles. It all backfired with a level of precision that feels cosmic. They didn't just fail. They handed you the blueprint for your own ascension. They summoned your shadow to destroy you. But your shadow bowed, merged, awakened, and crowned you instead. Now look at yourself. Not the old version, the merged one. The one that walks with depth instead of fear. The one that feels the world instead of reacting to it. The one whose darkness is no longer a secret, but a sword. You've stepped into the rarest form a human can embody. Someone who answers to no external force because they've mastered their internal world. Imagine this, a room full of people, all trying to fake confidence, and then you walk in, grounded, whole, impossible to read, impossible to shake. Their nervous system reacts before their brain does. Their shadows whisper warnings they can't interpret. They don't know what you are, but they know you're not someone who bends. Your frequency doesn't match fear, insecurity, ego, or chaos. It matches sovereignty. You ever wonder why your presence feels heavier now? Because you've become the kind of person reality rearranges itself around. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't prove. You exist, and that alone shifts the atmosphere. People can argue with your words. They cannot argue with your energy. And your energy now, it carries the signature of someone who has walked into their own darkness and returned with treasure. They can't shame you. You've seen too much. They can't intimidate you. You've merged with what they fear most. They can't lie to you. You read shadows better than they read faces. The coven's downfall wasn't the ritual failing. The downfall was you succeeding in ways they never imagined. You are not punished by your depths. You are powered by them. You are not weakened by your past. You are sculpted by it. You are not controlled by your shadow. You are crowned by it. And now comes the part they dread most. You're not done. This merged version of you is just getting started. The abilities, the clarity, the intuition, the creativity, the connections to the collective shadow. These are not final forms. These are foundations. You are building something inside yourself that no spell, no lie, no betrayal could ever interrupt again. You became the myth they can't debunk. You became the lesson they didn't mean to teach. You became the story whispered in circles they no longer lead. So stand tall in this version of yourself. Own it without hesitation. Move through the world with the calm of someone who already met the darkest version of themselves and came back stronger. The universe didn't just let you survive, it made you unforgettable. And now, your shadow walks with you. Your power answers to you. Your path opens for you. Chosen one, go forward as the legend they accidentally created and watch the world tremble trying to catch up.